The concept I'm about to cover in this video will scale your agency like no other. Quick bit of background about me. I currently work with over 315 agency owners on a monthly basis and basically just helping them scale up. We've done 15K to 100K a month in 7 months. We've done, 30 to 80K in just a couple of months. We've done 0 to 30K in a couple of months, and we've done 600K a month to scaling past that. So we kind of get a good range of all of these different sizes and styles and niches that you typically see. And yeah, in this video, basically what I'm going to be doing is revealing just a simple little thing that it's not necessarily simple, but one thing that you can simply do to completely obliterate your growth goal. So let me pull up my screen share and we will get into it. So basically, first off, just a little disclaimer. There are many ways to skin a cat. So this is pretty much just stuff that I've done for myself, my clients, but I'm acknowledging that there is a lot of ways that you can do it. If you want to disregard everything I say in this video and keep doing what you're doing and you think it's stupid and I'm fugly, then that's absolutely perfect. You can think that whatever you want. But I think based on my experience, I can probably give you 1 to 2 things that you can take away from this video and implement straight away. So if that's interesting to you, I'd probably keep watching. In terms of what the situation is, I think it's good to give context about kind of the agency industry in general. And I think right now, based on what I've been hearing from just talking to people, myself, my own experience, is that it's typically harder to get leads right now. It's harder to close deals, and stuff that worked a few years ago is not currently working. There's a lot of people on the internet that talk about stuff that worked a few short years ago, and it just doesn't work the same. So you buy into like a program or you buy into some sort of lead gen agency thing. You think it's going to work really, really well because they've got proof, but in reality, that proof is kind of ancient, and the stuff that they did to generate that proof is no longer working. Things like that would include cold email, losing its efficiency a bit because of the deliverability crisis. We're seeing people get like 30% open rates when they would usually get 60+% open rates. We're seeing people try and use just book a call with me, like saying, hey, do you want to get on the phone with me? And no one really wants to get on the phone with anyone. You see that paid ads have turned to shit for a lot of people. Really, really easy to not be able to scale a paid ad campaign. It's becoming harder than usual as more people have entered the market. And deals that used to close quickly are now turning into ghosted prospects that take months and months and months. And pretty much for anyone in lead gen, this is like an underground thing that you'd probably only know if you know people that run lead gen agencies, is that lead gen agencies are noticing that it's a lot harder to get results for their clients. If you're a lead gen agency owner watching this, you're probably like, ah, shit, he got me, because it's true. And if you're not, and you're kind of like, what's happening? Basically, what they're saying is that their clients aren't getting as good results as they used to. It's kind of just a fact. And if you don't agree, just go and ask one. You might be wondering, why is that the case? So why is this happening? Number one, trust is lower than ever. Competition is pretty high. Clients have often been burned before. So pretty much everyone that is able to be sold to has probably been sold something to this point. And people on the internet kind of don't help that. Like, they kind of frame and everyone kind of looks the same, which absolutely sucks for people that are actually good, but it's just the reality of the situation. And then the last thing is the availability of information is higher than ever. So buyers are typically more sophisticated. Like in the 1970s, you could call someone up and say, hey, you need to buy this car. This is like a fast action discount. You can really you can catch people with sleazy sales techniques. But because of the internet, it's really easy to just look something up. It's really easy to just find a better price or something like that, or even just find more information. For example, how easy it is to just Google, is this company legit? You go on Reddit and you see a bunch of scam reviews. I'm not saying that's necessarily the truth when you look at these scam reviews, but it is much easier to get information, and it's much easier to kind of become more aware as a buyer. And what that leads to is that agency services are really hard to sell, much harder to sell than usual. And you see people who used to scale easily, who used to just get deals in the door easily, book less than 5 to 10 calls per month because whatever they were doing has completely waned in efficiency. So for example, I know a lot of people that they got a lot of deals from Twitter or they got a lot of deals from cold email, but literally as soon as that stopped working, they just didn't know what to do. There's no more leads because their thing stopped working. And then, like I said, anyone who's scaled during this time usually has a big personal brand, or they've got some sort of massive edge, or they just get a ton of referrals. Because what you see at the moment is that it is really hard for the average person or the average agency owner to turn a complete stranger into a buyer on a consistent basis. And I know this might seem kind of high level, but trust me, I'm going to get into more of the specifics on how to solve this in a second. I just have to cover this initially so you actually understand why certain things are happening, and it kind of sets it up well. So, a bit of stuff that doesn't work well is spamming cold email scripts from 2021, running ads to a recurring offer, and trying to make content by following what typical content people say to do, like YouTube strategists. Doesn't work. Stuff that's crushing is using an offer that is actually good in 2024, and we'll cover that in a second. Building a paid ad funnel that goes to either lead magnets, digital products, or intro offers, and using cold email and personalized outreach as an extra method of getting leads rather than just relying on it. And then making content that solves clients' problems and treating it like its own products. So you might get a content person or a YouTube person telling you to go ahead and make videos that are about like mindset and all this random stuff, and make cat videos and like just basically a bunch of stupid shit, because it is going to get views. But what you're missing is that you don't care about views. You want to get clients. Like if you want to become a mindset YouTuber, that's a completely different thing, and you can do that in your free time. But if you're looking to get clients, then you need to solve problems in your content. The linchpin here, which is basically the thing that your entire business is going to rely on, and the thing that is going to determine whether you're going to succeed, is that you must be able to turn a complete stranger into someone who pays you MRR and loves you. That is the whole game right now. So once you have that stable MRR, operations, hiring, getting A players, getting a consultant, you can do whatever you want. You can solve problems when you have MRR, when you have consistent income coming through the door, but you will never release that pressure until you can stack clients who pay you, 5 figures or more in LTV, and you can get them in the door on command. And the linchpin of the linchpin, so the thing that depends on, is that you will never do this if you fail to build trust in the market. So you're never going to do this if every offer you put out into the market has too much risk, because people just don't want to be involved with risk right now. Like, people are poor, people don't trust you, and things aren't going well for most people right now. And the thing is, as a result, is that you can only get strangers to really trust you when there's low risk involved. If you think about it, like, you're not just going to go up to a stranger and say, and I mentioned this later in the video, but you're not going to go up to a stranger and say, hey, can I borrow your car? Like, no, that's risky. I don't know you. It's like a risky bet, So it makes no sense. Because remember, everyone's been burned before. Everyone's sick of agencies capturing more value than they provide, and everyone wants to protect their business and grow it in a stable way. So let's just pause there. What do I mean when I say capturing more value than you provide? So for example, if you're charging $3,000 a month and you're not creating $3,000 a month or more of value, you are capturing a bigger slice than what you are actually providing. So it's a shit deal for the business. Why would they want someone who's going to capture more value than they provide? It's just not objectively a smart thing to do. And when you capture more value than you provide, it's kind of a dick move. Like, you want to create way more value than what you provide. You want to create way more value than what you capture, sorry. So keep that in mind. And the thing is, when you capture more than you provide, it's really unsustainable. But if your clients all loved you, of course they would pay you forever. Does that make sense? Next thing, you also want to remember that it's not like you have an established brand like McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group. Neither do I. You have to earn trust of people. You have to say, hey, I have to introduce myself. I have to tell you who I am. I have to explain to you why I'm trustworthy. So if you're a random on the internet who's probably only been in business for a few years, it's likely that you've established almost zero trust. So you need to act that way. You need to introduce yourself. You need to give them an easy way to get involved with you rather than trying to make them take a huge bet on you. The solution here is that you need to offer them something that is ridiculously low risk. And I'm talking about the value to risk ratio needs to be about 100-1 in order to get people in the door, as fast as possible, and for it to be a killer campaign in terms of KPIs. So what that means is you need literally 100 units of value per every single unit of risk to the prospect. So for example, if they were going to bet $1, they'd have to be able to make $100. So you need to give them 100-1 odds for as many people as possible to come through the door. And that sounds like you're getting a pretty shitty deal. And if that does sound like a shitty deal, you'd be correct. Because when you first engage with the client, you are unproven. You need to absorb the risk because there's no reason that they should absorb the risk, especially if you're doing outbound, especially if you're running ads to get clients. Why in the world would they absorb the risk? It's not like they wake up in the morning and think, you know what? I'm going to pay an agency owner $3,000 a month today. What a dream. What an absolute dream. No one wants to do that. And the thing you have to ask yourself is, are you a special snowflake that doesn't need to absorb any risk, but you still get as many clients as you want? It's most likely that that's not the case. And it's funny, a lot of the people that say, I'm not absorbing the risk. I don't want to do free work. I don't want to do anything like that. I don't want to use a guarantee. They're the ones that end up not signing any clients for like 6 months. And this is genuinely from experience. Like, people say that they don't want to do this stuff that's required to get clients. They say they don't want to do it, and then they don't get any clients. and they're constantly messaging me saying, what do I do? What do I do? And it's like, I don't know, probably just do all the stuff that we'd already discussed. I already told you to do all this shit. Like, it's already available on the internet for what you need to do. So the question you have to ask yourself at this point is, how do I reduce risk for the client? Because I know you're probably thinking like, oh, do I just have to make a massive promise? Do I have to, give them something that's so insanely valuable and then, just put a guarantee on it? No, don't do that. You need to reduce the risk, because the risk is the problem at the moment. Like, the trust and the risk is the problem. That is why you're not getting clients. So you need to reduce the risk. So there's 5 types of risk that you need to reduce. Number 1 is the financial risk of your fee. Number 2 is the financial risk of you screwing it up. Then it's the time and effort risk of fixing your screw up, the reputational risk, i.e. like the consequences of you screwing up. And then number 5 is the ego risk of trying and failing. So why do you need to understand these? Is because when you understand these things, it gives you a more holistic insight into what it's actually like to being a business owner. A real problem that people have is they talk to prospects, they talk to clients as if they're not running their own business. And the reason for that, or the implication of that, is that you give them something that's an offer that sounds completely stupid. Like when you're, like this was me when I was first starting out, I would just make offers that make absolutely 0 sense for the business owner and then expect them to close, because I just wasn't even conscious. I wasn't even aware of what is the business owner conscious of when I'm trying to sell them something. It's absolutely insane how obvious it is in retrospect, but how easy it is to kind of fall into that trap, because when you're trying to sign clients, it's not really what you're thinking. You're not thinking, what is the business owner thinking about? How do I need to reduce risk? How do I need to understand their business and have empathy for their business in order to solve their problems? But you absolutely need to be aware of these things in order to sign clients. And trust me, you do not reverse risk by saying, or you don't pay. And I'll tell you why in 1 second. Saying, I'll make you 100K in 90 days guaranteed, or anything like that, immediately causes the prospect to think, who the fuck is this guy? Why? Like, what is this guy even talking about? I saw an ad the other day of someone guaranteeing $1 million in new revenue. It's like, yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of stipulations on that, and I'm sure that some people sign up to that, but I don't want to get involved with the FTC for making, crazy claims on advertising either. It's just kind of scammy, and you just kind of immediately get this bad vibe. And a big reason for that is because it's too big of a bet up front. So signing up to a high-ticket recurring subscription requires a huge amount of trust, and it will also place too much risk on you. So if you go ahead and guarantee someone $1 million in ARR, let's say you're in the position of the person trying to close the client that you just guaranteed $1 million in MRR, most likely you're going to have to work for too long and on too many things without knowing for sure that you will get paid, which puts you in a really bad position. And let's say you do the thing where you make a huge guarantee and then you say, oh yeah, well, we can only give you that guarantee if you fit all these criteria. All of a sudden, that kind of promotes having bad will in the market. People don't like it when you make an offer and then you say, yeah, well, you're not getting that offer. Like, I understand that this is something that has worked and it does still work, but personally, maybe this is stopping me from making more money. But personally, when I see people make these massive, massive claims and then say, yeah, well, you only get that if you do all these, you're only getting the guarantee if you, put your left kidney on the table and then say, I'm not using that anymore. Or you only get the guarantee if you spend 2 million on ads. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you get people on the phone with that, but you also look like a twat. You look like an absolute donkey. So personally, I don't want to do that. So as you can see, everyone loses with this. The easier way is what I'll go over in a second, is to make a direct intro offer that focuses on something specific. But before we get into that, let's talk about the types of risk that you need to minimize, because if you don't understand that, it's not going to work anyway. So first up, you need to understand financial risk of your fee. This is probably the easiest one that you most likely already understand. But an easy way to reduce this risk is number 1, to charge a reasonable price for an intro offer. So non-recurring, $2,000 to $5,000, and then give a reasonable guarantee. So for example, we'll improve one KPI and we're going to charge you this much to do it. And we have this much proof that we can do it. A big part of why this works is because it's a known cost. Something that happens really badly with agency owners is a client will sign up for a $2,000 a month deal. And then they'll get on the phone with the agency when they're not getting results. And the agency owner will they'll kind of string them along in a way. They'll kind of just keep getting on calls with them and saying, results are coming next month, results are coming next month, results are coming next month. and all these things. And I'm not necessarily knocking that, but what I am saying is that for the business owner, it becomes really risky because there is not a known cost to this engagement. They just kind of get expanded on. It takes so long for them to get results, and they're constantly having money going out of their pocket because it's a recurring offer, and they're kind of just getting like the breadcrumbs just thrown out in front of them. It's like, yeah, keep coming, keep paying 2K a month, or whatever the price is. So when you have a fixed one-time fee up front that's non-recurring, you really give them a chance to test you out with a known cost. So the absolute most downside I could possibly have in terms of your fee is going to be 2 to 5K. Then, like I said, give a reasonable guarantee. So make sure you're focused on something specific. So like I said before, if you say we're going to add 50K a month, it's too non-specific for someone to believe it's going to work. There's too many things involved with that. So you want to go closer. You actually want to go further from the money. So you want to go closer to the KPI. And then a smart business owner is going to extrapolate that they are going to make more money if they are the right client. So what do I mean by that? When you say we're going to increase your conversion rate by 10%, the right client thinks, oh shit, we would make XYZ more. This therefore makes that a logical decision. It's also specific, believable, and they can conceptualize how it would work immediately when you go through your process. So because you're focused on something specific, it's very easy for you to say, yeah, well, we're so focused on making a 10% increase in conversion. We have this literal list of 100 things that we can do to increase your conversion. When you buy, we just implement all of them until it works. And if none of them work, we'll just give you a refund. It's not a big deal. You can see how much better that is than saying, we're going to add 50K a month doing X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. And again, how did I learn this? Because I did this. I've literally gone and made the massive guarantees, figured out, oh shit, that wasn't that effective. What happens if I do it this way? And then that second way worked 100 times better. So do it the second way. Next is the financial risk of you screwing up. So this is probably the most important one that people completely neglect. Let's say you run ads for people. If you mess up, they're not just losing your fee, they lose the ad spend, and there's also the opportunity cost of whatever they could have generated for themselves without you. So Facebook ads are most likely going to be someone's best acquisition channel. They're probably making a lot of money from Facebook ads if they're going to hire you from Facebook ads, unless they're just hiring you for a setup or to work with them from scratch. But either way, they could have been running those ads themselves and continuing to get results. So if they're already running ads and they're getting results, and then you screw up, they lose the ad spend and they lose what they were already making from ads because you completely fucked up their campaigns. So that's something you have to be really aware of. And for example, if you're running ads for e-com brands and their ads flop for 90 days, it wouldn't be unreasonable for some brands to go completely bankrupt. So they literally cannot afford you to screw up. And then I guarantee you, if they go completely bankrupt, they're not going to, they don't care if you refund your 3K a month retainer. They don't care. They have no money. Maybe they care because they need to put literal food on the table and they're completely out of money. But they're probably going to be a bit more pissed about how their business completely blew up as a result of you fucking up. So you have to understand this risk. The next risk is time and effort risk. So fixing your screw up. Let's say you do email copywriting for people. If you ruin their deliverability, they might have to spend months fixing that. And if the list is big, you can cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. And it's pretty much like saying, should I let a complete stranger borrow my Lambo? Why would you agree to that? If they crash, it's going to take you months to fix it. It's going to take you so much stuff to fix it. So that's an absolute waste if you mess up. And again, the reason you have to understand this is because if you go into your conversations and you make your marketing without being aware of this thing and these types of risk, you're just going to say shit that doesn't resonate and you're going to look like an absolute idiot. Next, reputational risk. So this is the consequences of you screwing up. So let's again say you're an email copywriter. If you send an email to the list that is off brand, you can ruin that company's reputation in 5 seconds. It's one of those things that they might spend years and years and years building it up. But then if you ruin the list by emailing them something stupid that's completely off brand, it takes 5 seconds to ruin. And not only that, but if you're working with a bigger company as a client, and you're working through a key stakeholder, like a CMO, for example, when you mess up, it looks bad for them to the rest of the company. So they might even lose their job because they were the people that brought you in. So that's a really big deal. Like these are things that if you are not conscious of, you will go into these things lacking awareness and create offers that the client just thinks are stupid. They go over the client's head. They're like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. What's he even saying? And then they're going to go back to the team and say, oh, some idiot said this to me. And then you're waiting there saying, I wonder if this guy's going to reply to my email. Like, no, they're not replying to your email. They're not responding to the ad. You look dumb. Everyone's talking shit about you in the group chats. Not to catastrophize it, but that's kind of the reality. You have to be really low risk. And then ego risk is the last one. So trying and failing. When you mess something up, it's really embarrassing. You really have to think about this from the client's POV. They trusted someone from the internet with their money. They were probably nervous about it. And then you messed up and screwed them over. They likely feel responsible for this. So in the example of letting someone borrow your Lambo, if you ended up letting a stranger borrow it and then they crashed it, you would probably feel like an idiot. So you can see how this is a very important type of risk. It's not as if it just doesn't exist. And like I've been constantly repeating, if you go through your client acquisition without being aware that all of these types of risk are so relevant, you end up just not understanding the game to the level that you need to in order to sign clients. So like I said, you're making offers, you're trying to sign clients, and the client is just completely cold. They're like, it's falling on deaf ears because of what you're saying to them. And then all of a sudden you're like, why am I not getting clients? It's because you are so risky. There is so much risk involved with all of these things. And so many people that I talk to are just completely oblivious to what's going on in the real world. So what's the solution? The solution here is you need to create an offer that can scale to cold traffic by making something that is low risk, number one, medium to high upside, easy to get started with, and small scope so you don't have to take over their whole business. Like I said, the smaller the scope, the lower the bet, like the lower the size of the bet. So if you're taking over someone's whole ad account, of course, that's a massive bet. But if it's just a smaller part of the ad account, it's a smaller bet. It's much easier to say yes. It might be lower upside compared to if you were just running their whole ad account, but they don't need huge upside. They need a low value to risk discrepancy. So I'll say that again. You don't need to make a massive promise. You need to make a good promise that is just big enough that it's not a huge risk. So for example, the thing that really drives this home is that it's still a no-brainer offer if you were to buy a pizza for $5. If you got a full pizza for $5, it's still a no-brainer offer. You don't need to do the Lamborghini thing. Like when people say a no-brainer offer, they say, oh, would you buy a Lamborghini for $10,000? That's a no-brainer offer. Yeah, but it's also $10,000. You know what else is a no-brainer offer? If a pizza is $5. So you don't necessarily need to go as big as possible with the value proposition. You need to go as likely to actually occur in the real world as possible, and then capture a small percentage of that value, i.e. $5 for the pizza. It works so much better. I feel like I'm just constantly saying this every single day to every single one of my clients, every single person in the market that I speak to. It works so much better. It is the number one thing you can do right now to dominate everyone. And I'll give you some examples that have worked. Number one, fixing an e-commerce store's pop-up and make it convert more. Making 5 ad creatives and guarantee one would beat their cost per acquisition. So like guaranteeing a beat of their control. Next, rebuilding the client's welcome flow and making it convert better, getting them 20 leads in 30 days, and then give them the system for themselves, creating them a video for their website to help them get more sales calls, so a video editing service, editing 10 Instagram reels for them, and if their engagement doesn't double, they get them for free. Creating them 60 days worth of LinkedIn content for a fixed fee. If they don't grow their following by a certain amount, they don't pay for it. 20 qualified candidates for a job posting, and if they don't hire one, they get a refund. Giving them an audit of their operating system and finding them 3 ways they can deliver X product faster in the next 7 days. If we can't find 3 ways, you can invoice me for your hourly rate for wasting your time. Next one is any sort of audit, and then you can guarantee to get them a result from that audit. So you can say, hey, I'm going to audit your ads, and if I can't find a way to get you a 10% cost cut or a 10% better flow or a 10% better tracking or whatever, within 30 minutes of talking to you, I'll buy your next DoorDash order. So you can see these are all small bets, but they work 50 fucking times better than doing a massive bet. So how you want to think about it is any sort of free trial where you get a result, any sort of low-hanging fruit where you get them a result, getting them a result using some sort of templatized, checklist, productized thing, or charging them $2,000 to $5,000 to get them a specific result that is guaranteed, example, an increased conversion rate. Common theme here, you have to get them a result. You have to create value. And it's really important that you create value because if you don't and you aren't creating value, it is not sustainable. You might be able to sell some idiots, you might be able to, hoodwink some people, but eventually people find out. Next, make it as low risk as possible. So have a guarantee, make it not that expensive, make it non-recurring, make it one time. Next, focusing on something specific, so one KPI or area of the business. Next, make it productized so you can deliver it at scale, and it's a good offer for you as well. And this is the most important thing that I think people mess up, is that you need a lot of leverage. So in order to create this much value without you having to spend too much time doing it, you need leverage, you need skills, you need templates, you need processes that allow you to get results easily. So for example, I mentioned an audit. If you go into the ad account with a checklist of 50 things you can check and just say, hey, are these things present? It makes it much easier to go in and say, hey, you don't have these 3 things that are on my checklist. You can get a lot more results by just implementing these 3 things. And what does that mean? That means you can hire someone to do that for you. So you have media leverage in that you have a clear checklist that makes it easier for you to fulfill if you're still doing it. And you have good training that makes it easier for a $20 an hour employee to do it instead of you. So all of a sudden, this is unlocking everything in your business because you're getting leads, you're getting paid to get leads, and you don't have to do too much work yourself. It is insane. And like I have written down here, if you can do this, you literally unlock insane results. Like this is the linchpin that has scaled, all of our clients. So just actually implement this. Like if you watch this video and you don't try and implement something like this, you're wasting your time. And you just wasted the last, I don't even know however many minutes. From there, that's pretty much all I've got for you. What I would suggest you do next is download the free training at theacquisitionletter.com, and you'll get daily examples and insights from all these companies that I work with every single day. Basically, what I do when I wake up is I send an email to this list, and lucky you're going to get the chance to buy stuff from this list as well. So go to theacquisitionletter.com, top link in the description, and read my emails every day because they're pretty good, they're valuable, they're funny. A lot of people reply and say, hey, this didn't suck. So I'll probably go do that.